Hi there, folks. This is Sam Price, and I'm here for another episode of Probate Notes. And I'm really excited about this episode because you're going to get the same infectious energy that I got out of Barb when I first saw her speak. I want to welcome to the show Barb Betts. Hi there, Barb. How are you?
Hi, Sam. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's phenomenal for you taking the time to. I know you're busy, and
Of
I know
course.
you have a new book out. But before we start talking about some of the things about relationships, can you please tell me a bit about your background and how you got to where you are?
Yeah. So I have a background of over 24 years in the real estate industry
You
as
are
a
not that old. That's not true. That
I
can't be
yes,
true
I
at
did
all.
start very young. I did start very young, but I do have 24 years, almost 25 in August. In the real estate industry, everything from agent to team leader to real estate broker to broker owner of a independent brokerage, and also have been hyper involved in our industry at a volunteer level and have kind of risen up the ranks of leadership with the National Association of Realtors. About 5 years ago, well, about 14 years ago, I started speaking in the real estate industry. Those small rooms led to big rooms and bigger rooms and stages. Found a passion for speaking and training. And so about 5 years ago, I stepped out of the real estate industry into other industries. And now I do professional corporate keynote speaking as a full time career.
And you're phenomenal at it. I've seen you
Yeah.
speak, and you really have a great presence on
Thank you.
stage, and
Thank you.
a lot of people got a lot out of what you had to speak about.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about what is the issue of not connecting with relationships?
Yeah. So, I'm really passionate about calling out a problem that I think everyone knows we ultimately have in America, and many people are afraid to talk about it, which is this concept of loneliness and disconnection. In fact, the US Surgeon General did a report in 2024 that called out loneliness as a public health epidemic. And he equated it to as dangerous to our health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And that I see on so many levels. And then when I call out this problem of disconnection, it comes from the place of we're more connected as a society than we've ever been before. We can reach anybody in the world at any time. And yet we are all more disconnected than ever before. And I believe the issue is that we've taken relationships for granted. We're not intentional about our human connection. And so everyone's waiting for someone else to make the first move. And yet we're running around saying, I have no friends, I'm lonely, I don't talk to anybody. And we've got to solve the problem because again, back to the Surgeon General, it's a public health epidemic.
And so if we're trying to solve some problems with the relationships that we have, what are some of the ways or some of the scenarios that would come into play of where we would build that?
Yeah. So obviously, like we talked about, if you talk to anyone in sales, we'll start with the easy one. Everyone in sales wants
Yeah.
referrals. It's the most profitable way to do business. It's the easiest way to do business. It's the most fun. Who wants to do cold lead generation? Who wants to spend a bunch of money on ads, right? Nobody really wants to do any of that. We default to that because we don't know what to do. So being intentional about relationships and building those relationships on a trust level so that someone knows you, likes you, and trusts you, which we all know are the three keys to someone doing business with you or introducing you to someone else. So at the foundation of sales, when we look at leadership, I firmly believe that the better relationships that leaders have with their team, the better relationships the end customer or user will have. If we build better relationships with our team, we also deal with problems like burnout. We fix culture problems inside of our companies. We make sure we have good retention, right? Where people don't leave because they can make $1,000 more somewhere else, or some benefits package offers 4 days more PTO. They don't want to leave because they have such a good relationship with Sam, right? And when Sam builds a great relationship with his team, he's teaching his team to build relationships with each other, which changes collaboration. It changes innovation. It changes people bringing creative solutions to the table, curiosity, because people feel that psychological safety of being around each other. Then when we look at communities and networks, right? Volunteer groups, the group that we met, at your group at Atticus, that room is filled with people that are technically all competitors, but yet you come together in community. So building relationships in community, you find mentors, you find support, you find some of your best friends. And then just take it to a friendship level, to a family level. One of the concepts I talk about is that our relationships don't actually break. Our relationships just simply drift away. And when the gap between intentional human connection gets too far apart, that's when our relationships weaken. So when you think about your friends and your family, I'm sure there's plenty of friends as I'm talking, you're thinking about that you're like, oh my gosh, I would love to reconnect with so and so. I haven't talked to them in a couple of years. And that isn't because you don't like each other anymore. It's because you haven't talked to each other in a couple of years. So if you actually talk to each other, you would redevelop the relationship. So all of this, everything I just shared comes down to intentionality. That's the problem. We are not being intentional about our relationships and we're taking them for granted. And I say bonus points. So, if, fast forward, if you read the book, there's a whole system in there on how we truly have different levels of relationships with everyone we know. And there's a different intensity for everyone you know. And some people are your closer friends that you're going to send, communicate with and connect with all the time. There's other people, if you sent them that many messages, it'd be called stalking,
Yes.
right? So like you
Right.
have to know the cadence. And I teach a formula in there of how you can add some frequency to it because here's the problem. It's not that you're not thinking about people. It's not that you don't know people are important to your business and your life. You're forgetting about them because you're human and you're busy, which is why I teach kind of a little bit of a system and a strategy. Now, in business and sales, you have to have a system or strategy for this. You have to. With our friends and our family, you don't necessarily need to rank all your friends and family. But are there people that are important to you in your life that you just realize you're not spending enough time being intentional with? And that's why you don't have the relationship that you used to have because so much of this lands in proximity, right? There's the law of propinquity. I wrote about it in the book. And the law of propinquity says that the greater the physical or psychological proximity is between people, the greater the chance they'll have a relationship. So if you are not in front of physically, see someone all the time, through a natural gathering, point, or psychological, somehow in front of them in another way, which is the sales trick I teach everybody, you're not going to have a relationship.
Tell me a little bit more about not all relationships are the same. So you can treat some relationships with more intentionality than others. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah. I teach a simple 5-star ranking system because everyone understands a 5-star experience versus a 1-star experience. And in my world, your 5 stars are your advocates. They're your walking, and we're talking specifically business, right? They're your walking, talking billboards. And friends, I would say they're the friends that defend you in rooms you're not in. We all know those friends that would stand up for you in a room that you're not in, right? When
Hmm.
someone maybe, when we talk about like the mom groups, I'm sure you've got some moms that listen to this, and we know there's some nice moms out there and mean moms out there. And, our kids are all competitive and they're at the soccer field. And one mom starts talking poorly about you, those other moms that defend, those are advocates. Then I go to 4 stars are like your champions. 3 stars are your connections. You're really connected to them. 2 stars are acquaintances, friends of friends. And then 1 stars is a mailing list. And it's okay to have a mailing list. But and when we're talking about most humans' lives, we live in the fives, the fours, and the threes. When you start having a business for a long period of time, that's when you start to develop a deep 2-star list. We have a lot of past clients again that I even see. I would not recognize them in the grocery store, but I know they haven't sold their house and I know they still live in it. And so we still mail to them. And then those are the ones that call us in 21 years. They just don't want to talk to us. That's fine. They don't want a realtor to be their best friend. That's fine. So this is why you have to have some kind of measuring for you. And you can do it however you want. Some do hot, medium, cold, right? Some do inner, outer circle. Like do whatever you want. Just have a way to identify who the most important people are in your life and the ones you want to make sure never drift away from you.
And so once you've come to some type of a ranking system of the relationships, what do you do with that list?
So you can do all kinds of things with it. I mean, I teach everything down to have a Google Sheet, a minimum. I built a whole software around it. So I have a software that's out there that is actually a relationship follow up engine that does my exact system. You put everybody in, you rank them, and then it does a automatic list for you every day of who's up next. So it keeps track of when's the last time you connected with Sam and when does Sam come back next up on your list. People can take current CRMs, and if you have someone like a HubSpot or any of those Pipe Drive, all of those can be customized to do this. You basically need a system that tells you what someone's ranking is, when's their last activity date that you had with them, and then when's the next activity date. And on the next activity date, reach out and connect. Now, what happens 9 out of 10 times for us because we do this and this has become a muscle. It's not like you pop up in my CRM and I'm like, oh, time to call Sam. That's not how it works. Usually we've already connected and I'm like, oh, talked to Sam last week and I just log it. Or, oh, saw, Michelle at the baseball field, log it. So a lot of this is happening organically in our lives. The reason I like a system is it just makes sure that those important people that you're like, oh my gosh, before you know it, your friend Matt at the bar, it's been 2 years since you had a drink because you just both forgot about each other.